Welcome to the Magic on the Inside podcast by the Sisters Enchanted, where we chat magic, hot topics, personal development, and good old-fashioned life. Brew up something delicious and sit with us for a spell. Welcome to this episode of the Magic on the Inside podcast, where laughter is encouraged. I'm Sara, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, joined by...
Yeah, I'm Anna. I'm the co-founder at the Sisters Enchanted.
And we are talking about Halloween.
Is that what we're talking about?
Spooky season.
Yeah.
All month long. Because
Indeed.
like as if we don't talk about spooky magical things all year long or something. But today we are talking about embodying the witch archetype.
Yes.
And it's good.
Yes.
It's good. Now, I want you to stick to the end of this episode because at the end, we're going to point you in the right direction to find some tarot spreads and even more resources about understanding what the word witch might mean for you. Sound good?
Huzzah.
Huzzah. All right. So Anna has become one of the little words in the last 20 seconds, it seems.
Yeah.
Anna and I are in a debate at the moment over who should sit in which chair.
Okay. No, that's not. I used who should sit in what chair as a tool against you. Because Sara, so if we talk about always getting distracted here on the Magic on the Inside podcast, Sara is sitting to my left, which always showcases Sara's good side. So regardless of like when we're doing a photo shoot, we're sitting, Sara always picks my left side because that's her good side, which is fine because I don't know if I particularly have a good side. I mean, I do have one side that I have more hair on, so I guess we have the same good side, but we were just, and this is a good time about like also thinking about embodying the archetype of a witch. And because to me,
I can't wait to see how you spin this right now.
Well, for me, one of the things about embodying the archetype of a witch is really just having unconditional self-love for yourself, for being really confident in who you are and the magic within yourself, and always showing up for yourself, being a proactive member in your own life, which really goes with like what we do here at the Sisters Enchanted, which is trying to lead a life with intention so that you can have like your best life stepping forward. And I was complaining because I, as you all know, I'm about to I have a one-year-old, and I still am sporting a voluptuous post baby bod. And when we sit for podcasts and now we do it video recording, I am very self-conscious of what I look like, which is something that I'm usually not very self-conscious about. I usually go out and feel very confident and I put my hair up and I wear my clothes and I'm like, look at me, I'm cute. And then as soon as somebody puts a camera on or takes a picture of me, I'm like, oh my gosh, there I was thinking I looked cute today. And this is what I look like. And to me, that's a really hard thing because I've always really tried to be as confident in myself when I can be and put my best face forward.
I think you're a radiant goddess. With the radiant.
I like how you said that with the most straight of faces.
You are a radiant goddess.
So yes, so we were laughing when we first
goddess
got on
of
here
radiance.
because Sara made me pull my chair up more so that I didn't look like a little hobbit in the corner. But as I said,
in our last photo shoot, I went on the right side of you
for one photo.
No, for a slew of them, per your request, and I was like, "That's fine, I'll do that," and I did it.
You did do it. So. I also made the photographer stand up on something that was higher than us.
Oh my gosh. It is something seeing photos of yourself on the internet all day long.
It's really hard. And not even to mention that, and this is just, a sidestep, but it's really hard. And when you're feeling self-conscious and then you go and you put pictures of yourself online and you know how the online
trolls are,
yeah. It can be really scary. Although I will say that the witch-centered communities tend to be very, I think, supportive of
Oh no, people like to tell us just why they don't like us.
Well, yes, but I mean,
not about our bodies.
Not about our bodies.
Our
I mean, they don't like
personalities.
us because we talk about things like this, or we rant and we say silly things, or I have terrible grammar and punctuation. Like that gets pointed out to me all the time.
Apparently I make a sound.
Oh, I do it too.
When I speak that
sound
people don't like.
Yeah, I've noticed myself doing it too.
Since it was pointed out to us.
Yeah, it's bad. And my son Jacob does it also.
Okay, well, don't do it now.
Well, that's the sound so that you know. And that we know, that you know, that we know. But generally speaking, especially when it comes to physical things, I've only ever encountered one comment that kind of threw me aside that could have been weight involved, but also could have just been prop involved.
Well, I don't know. I don't really pay much attention to trolls.
Yeah, I try not to either.
I'm always just like, meh, block that person. That was rude. Blocksy blocks. But we talk about the witch archetype and embodying the witch archetype. And I think this actually is a great segue into talking about this because, all right, where to start? So the term witch is often confused with a religious belief system.
Yes.
And Wicca and paganism are both religious belief systems.
Yes.
The term witch is not exclusive to those belief systems. There are plenty of people in our communities who identify as a like Christianity, but also identify as witches. Right. So Christian witches, Jewish witches, Catholic witches.
Yes.
The term witch is not actually part of a religious belief system.
I just had this conversation with somebody the other day because they were telling me about a book that they were reading that involves witches. It's like a historical book of some sort that involves witches. And she was like, but they like align with like a Christian faith. And I was like, yeah, because like, there's a difference between witches and then the idea
and religion.
of being Wiccan or being pagan. And it was a good conversation starter, really.
So that's like one sort of myth. Another thing, a lot of people think that we see this a lot. Folks come to us and there's this idea that people from the Salem witch trials or the European witch trials. So if you don't know, in the 1400s, there was a huge European witch trial situation. And that was because of a book that was printed. So the printing press and widely, easily distributed books was just becoming a thing.
Right.
And so there was the Bible, the Christian Bible in mass production. And then there was this book written about how to identify a witch. Yes. And it was the number one selling book outside of the Bible of the time. And so, we could get into why that might be the case. And you can get into all these other things, but that's not what we're here for. But the point being that these people who were identified as witches in both the European witch trials and the Salem witch trials were not what we would actually call a witch. They weren't people who were doing, by and large, they weren't people who were doing anything outside of the norm. They were often people who maybe lived a little bit different, single women.
Yep.
Could have been people who had previous, like in the European time of those witch trials, women who were like midwives, herbal healers when we had the rise of medicine and more male-centric doctors. But these people who were executed often weren't actually like what we would call as witches, like us being witches, weren't that, would never have identified as that. And so it's interesting because there's all of these, there's like,
well, it's just so interesting when there's places like Salem and stuff, which we love to go to. Yeah. We love to go to Salem. But that it's now become like a place to celebrate this idea of the witch now. But a lot of people go and forget that the history there is not in celebration of witches. It's actually a sad history of people who were called something that they didn't associate themselves with. And,
as a means to other ends.
Exactly. And so it's just interesting. So now, like in that place, there's actually a lot of great things happening in Salem now, where there is like this reclaiming of what the word witch actually is and like what it means to be there, what that means there now as opposed to before.
Right. And a lot of folks will talk to us and say like, just about, the word witch and really the word witch, I think to identify, to claim the word witch for yourself in some way, whether you say it out loud or just in your mind, or you're just really like love Halloween decorations like we do. I think that it really is to actively say, I'm different than other people. Like I am different. And I think that for me, I have always, as a kid,
Sarah has always been.
I've always been a witch.
A witch.
And it transformed. So as a kid, it was like Halloween, and I just wanted.
I would call you a witch like all the time. I'd be like, stay away from my sister. She's a witch.
And then like I had these like celestial curtains in our bedroom, and
oh my gosh, Sarah and I shared bunk beds, and Sarah's bunk was the coolest place. I wasn't allowed in it.
Yeah, it had curtains and it had like lights, and
I'd go in it.
I know. I had like a little table with my things on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as a kid, it was like, how do I feel like a witch? As a teenager, not knowing different and not knowing other people that were interested in that, it was reading like Wicca and pagan books. And then as I grew and learned actual history, and I was like, wait a second, like the word witch actually it's separate. And I think that embodying the witch archetype is really about just owning yourself for who you are, unabashedly.
Right. Like I was saying in the beginning.
Exactly. And if you're a person who
look at that,
feels like an outlier, if you feel different, for me being a witch, it's so much more than like magic and spells and candles and crystals. I mean, that's part of it, but it's also, just the way I live my life is so different than anything, than most people. Like I'm self-employed. My husband is, he doesn't have to work. We love to travel around and see new places. Our kids they're homeschooled and we do like a virtual Waldorf inspired online school. So that's very non-traditional. Just everything about our life is from who we choose to interact with and not.
Who we choose to interact with.
Well,
the number
it's
is
just
small.
It is, but that's what makes us so
Well, you can really
different.
It does. You can really think back on our lives and even think about like us growing up, and even just in social circles. Like I played soccer. I was very athletic, but I was never really friends with anybody who was like that group of people. I was always like a separate person, like a part of that. Or you and I both, like we kind of floated in the center of having no social circle or like touching the outliers of a couple. But like I didn't leave school with a bunch of friends that I still talk to these days. And neither did you, because we were just kind of like,
I know we never really fit in.
Different. Yeah. And for whatever reason, like we were like that house that like parents weren't sure if they should send their kids to, you know what I mean? Like we were always kind of just like the strange family.
Yeah.
But we were also like really great. I think we were great people at the time. We were great kids considering like.
Yeah. Well, we were very other. We had a young mom.
We did.
And then I did pretty well in school, but I was not as wealthy. We had no money, so we weren't wealthy at all.
Right.
We had a 600 square foot apartment. Right. So then when I was in classes with the other smart kids who had like the McMansions, I didn't fit in with them socially, even when I was invited, because I was like, oh my gosh, your kitchen's the size of my whole apartment.
Right. And like me in soccer, our mom would show up with like a lawn chair and like sit in the corner with like her sunglasses on and like be like half sunbathing, half paying attention. And all the other moms were like on the benches being soccer moms,
with
like
snacks.
bringing orange slices and stuff. And like my mom was not like that. And I also didn't get along with any of those kids. And
but then like the kids who were more like their parents were more similar to our living situation, where they had less supervision. Like we did not have much supervision. We had, smaller homes, which is fine. Like I have a small home now by choice. So that's not, the size of your home does not matter. My house is small by choice now. But when we're thinking about the economics of the place where we lived, and we're looking at class and certain kinds of people live in certain kind of places, the people who did match our lifestyle were often getting in trouble and like
Right.
doing drugs
And we weren't.
and then we weren't doing that either. So it was
Right.
like, I don't like I'm not where I don't fit anywhere. And we just never
Yeah, some of my best friends
fit
growing up went
anywhere.
through some serious hardships, like in high school.
Yeah.
Right out of high school, I lost friends in high school because they stopped going to school.
Yeah, many of our friends have from at school that
Yeah.
people we grew up with have
Right.
you know
Had
been
really
in jail or
yeah.
or you know lots of trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
And we
Well,
though
even,
so it's like this otherness is the
yeah.
point, is this feeling of otherness.
Yeah.
And if you were a person who has always felt other,
Right.
and like you just don't understand why or how to fit. And I think that what really gave me so much liberty was when I stopped,
That it's okay to be other.
yeah, it's just like, this isn't for me, you know, like a few years back, even before all of the things of the times that made people have to distance and whatnot, my husband and I really stopped, like, we stopped spending time with many of our old friends that we had always spent time with.
Right.
And it wasn't like a big thing. We didn't call them up and say like, hey, we're not friends with you anymore.
Right.
Because that's not the case. I mean, if we saw them or something
Right.
happened, of course we would support them. But it was more of like a gentle sidestep out. Like,
Right.
you know what? I'm just not going to respond in the group text anymore. Or, you know,
Right.
we're just not coming. And but the reason was, and it's really interesting with my husband, he's not a person who would ever like talk about, he would never be like, yeah, my wife's a witch and like I think it's awesome. But he very much, I think too, is actually quite other. And the two of us, it's like we just don't think the same as other people. We don't sit in the circle of conversation of like the minivans and the cars and like sports and who's going
I would
where.
get me a minivan.
We sit
because I need space.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get what you need. Like I have myself.
But we're not going to any soccer.
No, like I got myself the Honda Pilot because I could fit all the people in it.
Yeah.
But like in the
You need
conversations where people are just like, really, I don't know, the mundane conversations, the two of us are like, this is dumb.
No, I
There's
get it.
more to life.
On the parallel line in life with Sarah, like Sarah's kids are homeschooled. I tried to homeschool, not for me, which is fine. I praise every person who homeschools their children, and I also praise every mom who chooses to put their kids in public school when they weren't sure whether or not to do that, or were totally confident in public school. Whatever is your thing, I totally support that in you, because man, parenting is hard. But like my son Jacob goes to public school, and I don't know how many times somebody has said like, why haven't you put him in a sport yet? Like, why isn't he in band? Why isn't he doing these things? And I'm like, well, my son doesn't want to do those things, and I'm not going to just force him to pick a sport and force him to pick something if he doesn't want to do it. If he decides that he wants to play the drums or pick up the guitar, then I'll get him lessons when he really decides that that's what he wants to do. But there is this sort of like pressure to like, well, what is your kid doing?
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you doing? Like, where are you part of the school? Like, where are you part of the rigmarole of the school aged mom? And I don't fit into any of those things. And, you know, Jacob doesn't really either. Like, I mean, Jacob has the cutest little man bun one ever did see, and he's just a free spirit. And you know, he also doesn't fit into what people expect a 10-year-old boy to fit into. Right. And so we're just very different also.
Well, and so I think that when we talk about the word witch in our program, Holistic Witchery, it's open for enrollment right now.
Woo!
And one of the things that we get a lot of pushback on is just the word witch in general, which is so interesting to me, because people will be like, oh, this goddess program or this priestess thing all day long. And we're like, how is that?
Right.
Like,
or how
and
many like money, like manifestation courses,
or like
be your own boss, and they've got like
goddess
crystal quartz and tourmaline to block negative energy from them.
Silly.
And they pull an oracle card to promote their abundance.
But what's so powerful about the word witch is it's literally like, I am other, and I'm going to stand in my otherness and my own power in being otherness. And while that might be uncomfortable, I literally am in control of my own life.
Right.
I literally am in control of it, no matter what somebody says to me about it. Right. Because people throughout history who've been condemned as witches were simply people who maybe were on the outskirts of what was normal, maybe trying to do something a little different. and sometimes just caught up in a whirlwind when really they aren't that different at all.
Right.
But the point is that they were just chosen as other, and then
a lot of like he said, she said to
treated
the
as
underdog
such.
because
Right.
of the otherness.
And so choosing to use the word witch and like as a word to describe yourself, whether just to yourself or say it to other people or just feel that energy.
Right.
It's really like, I am me, no matter who I am or how I am.
Right.
And I'm going to live my life intentionally.
Right.
This is what I want. And I'm going to filter all of my actions through that value, through that intention, no matter what happens, no matter who says what about me, no matter how anybody feels about it. And I think that being a witch also, it's understanding this collective energy that is bigger than you, and that, and in the end, how are you contributing to that? But yeah, I think that choosing to use the word witch is really just, it's empowering. It's a little rebellious because people don't like it. People really don't like that word.
No.
So when you use it, it is rebellious. It's like a rebellious action to say that. And I think that can also just feel empowering too.
Yeah.
So some ways to embody the witch archetype this time of year, because it's super easy at Halloween because nobody will look at you weird if you walk around with your witch hat on.
Right. Or
I mean, you do it in June and someone's going to side eye you, but you do it in October, no one's going to side eye you.
Well, I mean, in June they shouldn't, because there's like, what is it? Rudolph Shiny, or there, is it because we have a Christmas in July movie or something? So
Rudolph.
witches in June, totally linear. Totally makes
totally
sense.
linear for sure. We should do that.
Totally track.
Halloween and
in June.
Halloween in May. Well, that's Beltane. That's Beltane. No, okay. Embodying the witch archetype. Think about something that you always hide from, like that you kind of just keep to yourself, Yeah. Something you don't really like. You're like, I don't want to tell people about that.
Your inner spooky.
Yeah, just like relish in it.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, what is my greatest dream that I feel like could never happen for me? Like for me, that was, if you had asked me 10 years ago what I'd be doing with my life, how old am I now? So 10 years ago, 12 years, more than that. I think I'm trying to figure out how old I was when I went to graduate school. But anyway, if you had asked me like 15 years ago what I was going to do with my life, this would not be it. And if you had even asked me 10 years ago, if you had asked me 5 years ago, Sarah, do you think Kevin would be home from work, not having to work? Do you think that you will have enough money to pay 7 people every single month? Every month, 7 people, you're going to pay them. Like full, like actual money, money to live on, not like $100 to help you out. Like money, you're going to pay 7 people money to live on every month.
Yep.
You're going to pay contributing teachers every month.
Yep.
Some extra cash.
And donate.
And we're going to donate money every month on recurring donations, monthly donations. Sarah, do you think that's true for you 5 years from now? I would have been like, what on the planet do you think that's like not
if you
me?
Had asked me 5 years from now if I would be working with you regularly, I would be like, no, I'm gonna work at this grocery store forever.
Yeah, no, I mean, like there is not, no, that's like a type of person, and that's not me. Like I don't think that seems like a lot of money. And now though, so I want you to think, embodying the witch archetype, what is something that seems like so wild and rebellious and like there's just no way that could happen? I want you to think about it. And then I want you to consider how owning the word witch and then understanding how to live intentionally, how to understand your energy, how to understand shadow work, how to understand creating your future, and really just being true to yourself, how that would feel to be that. That's embodying the witch. So are things here. When you think about things you would never tell anybody, and then think about like how it would feel to tell them, and then think about your wildest dreams.
Yes.
And feeling like you have the power to actually make that happen. Think about that. That's embodying the witch archetype.
I like
standing up for something that you've never stood up for before, but you really want to stand up for. That's embodying the witch archetype.
Yep.
Being your just most unabashed self. You want to wear like big eyeliner and green lipstick to work.
Nobody here has ever done that.
Just do it, embodying that witch archetype. It's about being a little rebellious, magic, understanding that you own the power, and also remembering that otherness, that there is this sense of people that are different, weird, and other, but that the people historically who have been labeled a witch without their choice, we're given that. We can choose to be like, yes, I am other.
That's the resurgence of the witch. It's happening.
I am on the outskirts.
It's happening.
Or like maybe you're not on the outskirts and you're like, my freaking boring, like I go to work every day.
Get your broomsticks ready,
I take the kids to the soccer. I make the dinner. And you're just like, what is this? It's time to cast it off.
Yes.
Put that hat on. Yeah. Jump on the broomstick.
Get your broomsticks.
And embody the witch archetype.
Do it.
And just figure out what would it look like if my life felt magic.
Yes.
And not mundane. I can tell you my life is not easy. I have a kid who is she's autistic. My son, I don't know.
I saw it in your eye. I don't know what.
I don't really know. My little son, he's 4. And listen, it's been some trying times. And my husband and I have our challenges. I have health challenges. Like it's not an easy, my life is not easy, but it does feel like incredibly magical when I look around my life and I'm just like, I get to do this. I literally get to provide for people. I get to change lives. I get to go and work from wherever I want to.
I'm home playing with my mom punch, but I'm also doing things like I got to do a breastfeeding journey this time around that I wasn't able to do the first time around. I now own a house that I never thought that I would ever own.
And it's so interesting too how embodying the witch archetype can look for different people, because Anna wants to be like the stay-at-home mom owning the house with a minivan, and I'm over here like,
I'll make brownies with green frosting for people. I'll have witch brownies.
And I'm over here like, I want the smallest house possible because I don't want to clean anything.
Oh, I wanted a small house, but my house, I fell into one that's not huge, but like bigger than anything I had ever
compared to anything we've ever lived in.
Yeah,
your house is
spacious.
Like is very. I go in there and I'm just like, there's all these toilets to choose.
There's so many toilets.
Anna and I have. Well, your last apartment had 1.5 baths. Yes. We've never lived in a house. I've never lived in a house with more than one bathroom.
No, Sarah and I are really good at.
Oh, in college we had 1.5 baths in my apartment. I lie.
Well, growing up, we had
4 roommates.
Like waiting in line outside the bathroom. Who gets to go first? Like I go first. Like whoever.
Oh my gosh, I know my house with 2 kids and Kevin and I were just like, who is suffering the most? Get in order, in line order.
The thing is, you come into my house though, and it's not. I don't think my house is like the average, house of somebody with 2 kids who stays at home. My house is like filled with like, I don't know. I think my house is quite magical.
It is. Your house looks like a witch cottage. But I think that's the point though, is that like what would feel like magic to you?
A super cozy house that smells
delicious.
It doesn't have to be
the same, but that's embodying the witch archetype. Gets you to that life that feels magic. Yes. For you, a life that feels magic is
cast iron skillet.
It is dinner. You want to make dinner for your family every night. You want to do those things. Like me, if you tell me to make dinner, I like die inside. But it's what feels magic to you, and then embodying the witch archetype to get you there. Yeah. Totally. All right.
This was a really good episode.
So what I want you to do.
So
is in the show notes. We're gonna have some links. I told you we would tell you a little bit more about this, about what the word witch means to some of our community members. We're gonna have some things linked up there for you. And some other resources that we have about your future self. We've got some episodes on that with a worksheet. So we're going to put all those in the show notes for you. And then also go to holisticwitchery.com because our program is open for enrollment. And when you register now, you also get a ticket to our virtual event, our Halloween class-a-thon. We do it every year. Yes. It is so good. And it's such a great way to support just small business, because we bring in other teachers and they contribute to this class as well. Mm-hmm. So it's good stuff. But holisticwitchery.com is where you can find all of the information for that class. Yes. So go there.
I'm amazed by your otherness to remember things that you said in the beginning of a podcast and to circle back to them.
It's
a gift.
My ADHD, I think, is the best gift I have.
That is a gift.
Okay. We need to end this. I saw a kid at a playground a few weeks back. He was like probably my daughter's age. She's 7. So he might've been 7, 8, maybe. And he was like jumping all around. His parents they had like dropped him off, and then it was a really weird situation. Anyway, I wish I could tell the whole story because it was so weird. My husband and I were like, are those his parents? Because they're ignoring him. But then he looked at us because he was like jumping around. He's like, I'm sorry, I have ADHD. It makes me do crazy things. And I was like, oh no, ADHD is that's such a special gift to have. And he was like, no, it makes me bad at school and behave poorly. And I was like, well, it'll also make you really creative. So those of you who don't know, I actually have my master's in education and I used to work with kids with learning differences. So it's like also, so I started telling him about all these things about special gifts and he had like obviously never heard that before. And he was just telling me how bad it was. And then he was like, no, I don't think so. And he like wasn't hearing me. And I felt so sad inside. But my ADHD is my most special gift. And it actually weirdly is what makes my brain fire the way it does.
I know.
Where I can actually hold 100 things at once.
Yeah. No.
But you ask me to make dinner for 4 people and I'll look at that recipe and freak out and not be able to do it.
I can't read recipes either, but I will happily make dinner for 4 people.
No, I can't even make the grocery
you give me
list.
One of those boxes where you're supposed to follow directions. I'm like,
you ask me to like, I don't know, troubleshoot a tech problem and make a list of directions. And I'll just be like, that's too much. That's all too much. But you want me to navigate like 8,000 Excel spreadsheets and keep information in my mind? I got it. We
need to analyze my brain. Compare and contrast.
No, it's good. All right. So yes, look at the show notes. Go to holisticwitchery.com. Subscribe, like, review,
all those
tell
things.
your friends.
Tell your friends.
And until next time, we hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead.